there was a forum back then. It was called like Off the Pitch, and a lot of the parents would like talk about me and they'd be like, where's she going next? She's always going to different teams. And I'm like, oh my God, I am like 12 years old. Like, what are you guys talking about? But anyways, yeah, it was very, that was very,
oh my God.
Yeah, it was called,
I didn't know about
it
this.
was called Off the Pitch.
There was a forum and everything?
What? Julie, that was the thing, like, to do after a game is go invent and be anonymous in it.
Dude.
Julie, it was like TMZ.
It was all anonymous. You could say whatever you wanted about players, and obviously it was more so parents. I mean, at my age, they called me the special one, and they're like, where's the special one going next? Like, blah, blah, blah. It got bad sometimes because...
Hello, TF3 fam. Welcome back. We are so excited to have you here with us today. We've got a lot of awesome topics that we're going to be covering. We are going to be releasing this episode to you guys June 27th, so this upcoming Sunday. We're very excited to get your feedback, your comments, your insight, your conversations. Make sure that any kind of conversation, question, comments that you'd like to send our way, you can always DM us on our Instagram account at TFF Media. You're always welcome to, maybe we'll put our handles up there. You guys can reach out to us as well, but we really want to get this community involved, hear what you guys have to say. And make you a part of this project as well. This is our third installment. We're very excited. Our audience continues to grow. We continue to get larger and larger views on our audio platforms and YouTube, which is always amazing to see. It's always great to get that kind of feedback from all of you and know that people are out there and want to hear what we have to say. And we're not just talking into screens for our own well-being, which we are, but it's good to know that other people want to be part of the conversation as well. So we are really excited to be here. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment, follow, all of those good things. I am Alex Abrahams, and I am here with my co-hosts, Julie and Maria, and we would like to welcome you to the third episode of the Female Footy Forum. Today, we're very excited for Carla to be joining us today, all the way from Sweden. She's got 6 hours on us, so she's got her beauty rest. We're still waking up on this side of the world. We're very excited to have her here. We think that there's going to be some really important conversations that happen today revolving mental health, mental performance, and just what it takes to be a top-level athlete. We wanted to kind of take a stand right now and say that we at TF3, we stand with Naomi Osaka and we appreciate everything that she is going through and we wish her nothing but the best. And we're just honored to be alive and witnessing this athlete that's able to come forward, speak her truth, and really changing how people look at sport and look at athletes and what it means to be a human and an athlete. And so it's just a really exciting time to be a part of this and to be part of the change that's happening. So we are all very, very excited to be here. We're excited that you're all here watching. Before we get started, I want to just remind all of you to subscribe, like, comment, share, do all of those awesome social media etiquettes that you can, so that we can continue to spread the word and get as connected as possible with people. We want to make sure that this is always as inclusive as possible and everyone feels welcome to sit at the table with us. So making sure everyone has access. So if you have a friend that doesn't have a computer, invite them over safely and watch the episode with them, maybe at a distance. But we want to get as many people involved as possible. So thank you for tuning in. I'll hand it over to Julie and Maria. How are you guys doing today?
Doing good. I am on the edge of my seat, Carla. I don't know what you're thinking, but I'm so excited to hear about the U.S. Women's National Team Olympic roster and the Canadian National Team Olympic roster. They are both coming out. So the Canadian one is supposed to come out around 11 a.m. Eastern time, and then the U.S. is coming out at 8:30. It's actually supposed to come out now, so I might even check out my phone. And I promise I'm not trying to be rude. I just it would be so good to have the breaking news and to get your opinion on all of those rosters. But Maria, are you excited?
Yeah, I know Julie's been going through like 10 different time zones to try and figure out when these rosters are dropping. So anything roster-wise, we look at Julie. No, but I'm excited to hopefully talk about that and have Carla on and share her story and her opinion on what's happening with sport and what she's currently going through and playing in Sweden and playing in another country. First of all, during a pandemic and obviously playing at a very high level. So I'm excited for this episode and hopefully we can get Carla's take and obviously our takes on these rosters. So Julie, keep hitting that refresh button on those rosters for us. You need an air horn or something, I feel.
I'm stoked.
Yeah, that we're gonna have to use that soundbite at some point.
You like that?
Yeah.
Oh, that's sick.
So yeah, I think we could kind of get started, Carla, with your journey. If you want to kind of take us through, you as a player and growing up in Ontario, Canada, and how you kind of got involved in soccer and different sports, and kind of just talk about your career so far.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm very honored to be on this podcast with all you guys. I think we've all had similar experiences and we played in the same areas and same teams. So it's very exciting, obviously with different ages, but for the most part, it's really exciting to hear about it. So for me, I was born in Mississauga, Ontario, Port Credit. I started playing, I think my first club was like Clarkson when I was like 6. And then I think from there, I went through when it was a thing, Mississauga Soccer Club, Mississauga Falcons. That was my team. I think I played for Dixie as well, North Mississauga. And then once I started to get more competitive, with OISL at that time, I went to Brampton, and then I went to North. Whatever was easier for my parents, because obviously they were both working, and it was hard to like sacrifice time to take me. So it was kind of wherever it was closest for them to take me, as well as if my friends could take me. So I was hopping a lot on teams, and it's kind of funny because at the time there was a forum back then. It was called like Off the Pitch, and a lot of the parents would like talk about me, and they'd be like, "Where is she going next? She's always going to different teams." And I'm like, "Oh my God, I am like 12 years old. Like, what are you guys talking about?" But anyways, yeah, it was very. That was very.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was called.
I didn't know about
It
this.
was called Off the Pitch.
There was a forum and everything?
What? Julie, that was the thing, like, to do after a game is go and vent and be anonymous in it.
Dude.
Julie, it was like TMZ for Ontario soccer.
That would, I'm sure, like, 100% my name's in there. Like, if I, like, 100%.
No, I'm telling you, everyone, it was all anonymous. You could say whatever you wanted about players, and obviously it was more so parents. I mean, at my age, because we're not like 10 years old trying to like make accounts, but it was definitely parents, and they would talk about like, they'd be like, they called me the special one, and they're like, where's the special one going next, like blah blah blah. And then unfortunately, like, it got bad sometimes because so my parents, like with some of the clubs, like we asked if we couldn't pay like the registration fee because it was a little bit much for my family, and it was easier if that fee could be taken off for me to play. And so with some of the clubs, like with the Mississauga Falcons, it worked out, and it was very thankful and grateful for that. And somehow these parents found out, and they were like, yeah, wherever she goes, I don't think she'll have to pay. And it was like, I'm like, oh my God, like these parents are ruthless. Yeah, like they were nuts. Yeah. Anyways, so that was like, they really got much. I had this very like high confidence when I was younger. So I think I was like, it probably egged me on. I'm like, yeah, like they talk about me, I'm good. I don't know. But anyways, so moving past that. So yeah, and then throughout, I played in OISL, and then I also went through the whole provincial program. So I went through district and did my years with Team Ontario. And then, yeah, and then, you know, I went to Ontario Cup. I went to all the national championships, which was really, really fun. I wish that was still a thing for the girls now, but I think my first camp, I got invited to my first U20 camp probably towards the end of high school, I think. And then I went to a couple more when I was in university. But anyways, I got a scholarship, a full scholarship to West Virginia University. They scouted me at the Umbro Showcase when I was 14 years old. So that was really fun. And then they kept up with me and contacted me and all that. Spent 4 years there. Then I graduated, and my first club after that, I obviously wanted to keep playing and play professional. So my first club after that was in France in the second division. Interesting experience. We'll probably get into it. And after that, I moved and went to Italy in the first division. And unfortunately, there I didn't get to play. I only stayed there for about 6 months, and I didn't get to play because of visa complications. And then I got injured. Oh my gosh, the Italy time was it was a lot. It was very, very draining compared to France. Like, I was playing, and obviously maybe if the level wasn't as good, I could still push through and still like push myself to get better. But with Italy, I wasn't playing, and I was in a place where I didn't want to be. So it was very, very mentally draining. So after that, after the 6 months there, from like September to December, I left, and I was like, okay, I need to like find something better for me where I can get my knee right, and then also better level of play. And then COVID happened. So then everything stopped, and I actually got an offer in the summer because I was still trying to play. I was still trying to get fit. I was still trying to fix my injury, and I did get an offer in Spain to play for Malaga in the second division. But then stuff happened again with my visa and me going over there, so it didn't end up happening. They told me like right before the transfer window that like, oh, like we can't take you, like it's not going to be possible. And then I'm like, great. So then I had to wait more months until the December transfer window to get a club, and that's the Swedish club that I'm in now. And I moved here in February. So that was the whole, in a nutshell, my career, I guess, pretty quickly.
I, first of all, really appreciate you went into all the details of all the clubs you went to, because, like, if anybody out of the GTA, like, the people who are in the GTA know these clubs. Like, you know what I mean? So that was just all really cool. And off the pitch, whatever. As if I didn't know about this, because I on this particular on this particular podcast, I have a thing called the Tea with Julie. So if it's still around, I'm definitely going on this forum.
You have to find it. I don't know if it's still a thing, but I remember it was like that off the pitch, and then it was also like the Terra power ranking. So it was like I would be constantly looking at that when I was younger.
So interesting. That's so cool.
Off the pitch, like Julie, my mind is blown that you had not heard of this. This was like when you'd come home from games, you're going on and you're trying to figure out whose like parents' anonymous handles are whose, and like figuring out who's saying what about who. And I remember bringing this up in university in one of my classes one time, and the shock that came across people when they heard about this platform. They're like, you need to do like an investigative piece on this. Like, this is not right. Like, that's, you know, the epitome of like, you know, like stuff that's damaging children. Like, these people were, they were blown away that this was happening. And you know, and as a kid, you're like, yeah, that's what parents do. They talk smack about kids on the internet. Like, that was not strange to me, you know? And so, yeah, I felt that, and I was checking it constantly, seeing what people were saying about me, seeing what people were saying about my team. Then you go to the power rankings, and they're like making predictions on where people are going to fall in the power rankings. It's like a online gambling, but like about 12-year-old girls. Very strange.
Wow.
Very strange.
It was a
Like,
cult.
Wow.
It was
I
a
feel
cult.
like my parents.
yeah, it was a cult.
I can
It
imagine.
was a very strange thing.
I can imagine like me going to my parents and them being like, "Oh yeah, we knew all about it, but we just didn't want to
Yeah.
tell you." I could tell because like they've done that to me before, where people were like talking to me,
Yeah.
provincial team behind my back, and they were like, "We just didn't want to tell you," so they told me like 5 years later, and I was like, "This was going on." Meanwhile, I was like being so nice to this girl and like her mom or whatever, but meanwhile they were telling me that I should be making the provincial team, and like they were having everybody sign the protest or whatever, sign like a thing for me to get kicked off or something like that. And I was like, what? Like, this is crazy. So anyways, I appreciate my parents, because obviously that would have like destroyed me at like the little age of 13 or whatever I was. Anyways, Carla. Sorry.
And I think, yeah. And I think we all kind of have experienced that. And I mean, Julie, it was kind of later in life. I mean, it was pretty open with me. I don't know Alex's experience or Carla's, but how was that, Carla, on the mental side? Because you're obviously this young player, young youth player, your family, you're trying to do all these things to help your family, to make it easier on them. Obviously working and then taking you to soccer, which at the time, I think kids aren't playing as many hours now, but at the time you were probably 4, 5, 6 nights a week. So how was that on the mental side? And like, if any of the youth players that are listening to this, or parents or coaches are listening to this and maybe have a kid who's traveled to a bunch of clubs or can't afford it or anything, what did you go through on the mental side, and like any advice for people out there on that topic?
Yeah, like what it was when I was reading these things, I got pretty consumed in it, which was probably not good for such a young age. Again, I was very confident, but if I had like the confidence that I had now, or even when I was in university or even before, and I was reading that, I'd be like, dang, like, why is everyone talking about me? But I remember when I was younger, parents were pretty ruthless in talking about me. I don't know if it was like because of jealousy, or if it was just because like they had nothing, like that was just what they were doing, or it was normal then. Because I feel like now that is not that's not okay to be talking about 10-year-olds, 11, 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, like, and if they're like where they're going next season, or if they're good enough, if they had a bad game, like it was crazy. But I think for me, like when I was younger, I tried not to think about it, because it, like, even thinking about it now, it's like you don't know anyone's story. You don't know why people move from team to team, or if they can't afford this. So it was very bad on their part to just assume the worst of me. I feel like they thought, oh, she thinks she's so good, she doesn't have to pay for a club because she's that good. And it was no, because like, my parents asked if it was possible to make it easier for themselves, to let me play, because at that time it was expensive. I think it's more expensive now. I've heard I've talked to some younger players throughout the years, and now it's incredibly expensive. If it was when I was younger, if I had to pay what they have to pay now, I don't think I would be playing. Like, honestly, I think my parents would have been like, we can't afford it. Like, this is not, I'm sorry. So it's really sad that it is a lot more now. But yeah, I just think to try not to listen to when you're younger, try not to listen to parents or other people talk about you, because it's always going to keep happening. And especially at a young age, that's very hard to I feel like it's like a sponge. We just consume it, and we get caught up in it, and we shouldn't be going through that when we're young. We should just be having fun and playing the sport we love. So yeah, definitely my mom always said, whenever like people would talk, or even if coaches would just be saying something that's probably wrong, that to listen through one ear and out the other. So that's something that I would always do when I was younger. She would constantly tell me that. So I was trying to do that when I was younger, for sure.
I think it's really good advice to let things in one ear and out the other, because that is not the kind of responsibility and pressure that a child should have. And I completely agree with you. It should be about the enjoyment of the game. And I think one thing that I try and talk to players now about, that I have this, like, you know, I've been through things and I've experienced things, and I've had coaches and parents and teammates, you know, say things to me that are maybe hurtful or maybe challenge me or whatever it is. And I think it's so important that you constantly remind yourself, why are you playing the sport? Why are you there? And just focus on that. I'm there because I want to get exercise. I'm there because this is a stress reliever for me. I'm there because I love being part of the team. I'm there because, you know, and find your reason and just stay true to your reason as to why you're playing. And hopefully that can tune out the haters. And if not, it can maybe hold them at bay a little bit longer. And also, you know, if you're having issues with people, like, go and tell an adult, you know, like, go and tell your coach, go and tell a teammate, go and tell a captain, go and tell someone that you trust, go and tell your parent, sibling, whatever. Even, you know, maybe even your teacher at school. Your teacher at school might be willing to kind of intervene too. But I feel like if you're in a situation where your love of the game is being impacted because an adult has something to say about a 12, you know, 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old, don't accept that. Don't allow them to have that power over your love for the game. So yeah, I think it's super important for the kid. In one ear, out the other, I think is very important. And just remember why you're playing. And if it gets really bad, go and tell someone.
That's so true. Honestly, like, the soccer world is really political in many regards. There's a lot of egos everywhere at all levels of the game, whether player, coaches, etc. So that's, yeah, it's tough, like, growing up, especially at the more competitive level. So yeah, that, good on your mom. Appreciate to keep pushing, that's for sure. And I wanted to actually pivot. I know you were talking about your experience when you were first at, was it at France, sorry, or was it at Italy? I'm sorry, you were mentioning your...
My first club was France, and right. I played the full year there, and it just wasn't at the level that I wanted it to be at. So that's why, like, I moved, I wanted to move clubs, and so I also didn't want to be stuck, because I had an offer with Saint Etienne in the second division again, but then I was like, oh, I don't want to be stuck as, like, I don't want to be seen as just a second division player. But I think I should have chose that at the time, because their club in itself was really professional. You know, they have a men's side, they have the funding, they play pretty well. So I think in hindsight I should have kept that. But then I got this offer in Italy, and it was first division, and I was like, okay, Italy's still developing, obviously, but at least first division, and I'm playing against top clubs, and I can showcase myself. And then I didn't even end up playing, just because of the circumstances. So
that's so tough, honestly, and everything's easier in hindsight, of course, but you don't know at the time. So, like, going back, what kind of advice would you give to somebody at that? Like, maybe, to your point, what would you consider or tell people to look at, particularly, hey, do they have the funds, to your point? Like, what are certain things that you would tell those going through that experience currently?
Yeah, I mean, it's so tough, obviously, with the women's game and playing abroad. And so there's things that you need to look at, is obviously, like, the salary. It depends on team to team. To have a men's side do get more funding, as in comparison to just the sole women's clubs. I found that they don't have, the facilities or stuff like that. And so it's really tough, but I think, and it's also tough trusting an agent as well, because sometimes, with women's football, I think, like, they might be able to take more advantage and take more of a cut, or bring, or not even think about bringing them to a club that they might not be happy with. It's tough. Like, for example, even being in, like, more of a city, or being more in a populated area, like, some girls might be going to a very remote place, and you have to think about life outside of soccer. So it's like, will you be happy, like, outside of training, like, where you'll be, and maybe you're away from everything, and you're like, oh, this isn't what I'm used to. I'm used to being in a bigger city, or other things. Or if, for example, if they have a lot of international players, because maybe you were the only foreign player, and then they don't know how to take care of a foreign player. So it's things like that, like, oh, they have more foreign players in the past, and now it's like, okay, they know how to take care of that and deal with whatever a foreign player needs to be comfortable there. So there's like so many things to consider and think about, and it's just, I went into, like, obviously, I think a lot of women's players go into it very blindly because we don't know until we get there, until we hear about it. It's very difficult, but you just always have to think about, I think at the end of the day, is if you're going to be happy, like outside of soccer, football as well. But definitely like facility, salary, like just the level of play, how they play, you know. So yeah.
That honestly, that's so interesting. Like, exactly, like people go into this so blindly, and they lean a lot on whether, you know, peers who have gone through it before or their agent. Did you have how was your experience with your agent? Obviously you don't have to disclose anything or whatever, but like, I know you mentioned like it can be a little dodgy sometimes and stuff like that. Have you been able to lean on them quite a bit to get a sense of, hey, is this salary even decent? Is this, you know, meeting minimum? Like, how was that experience?
Yeah, my first agent, he promised a lot of things in the beginning, and then it kind of went south when I was open to him saying like, hey, like, I don't think this level is where I want to be, and I want to be somewhere else. Like, I want that to happen. And then he wanted me to stay at that same level, and I'm like, okay, then now we know we're not on the same page, and that you're kind of doing this for the money or doing this for the connection with the club. And so that experience, he meant very well, I think, in the beginning and overall, but I think sometimes with agents, they do have to take care of themselves. That is their job. And I'm sure, you know, it is hard to be a women's football agent because, again, we don't make enough money. So they do have to take some out for themselves for the work that they do. So I understand that. But and then I got another agent, again, just didn't have that good of a relationship. And then I found another agent, and again, it's just like, I haven't found an agent where I felt comfortable, where we were both on the same page of what I need. And yeah, it's just very tough finding an agent for sure, especially for the women's game. So yeah.
And were you able to find your agents through peers, like friends of friends, or was, yeah?
Yeah, it was through friends of friends, or yeah, majority actually of them were friends of friends, but a lot of people, you know, like they try to find them, you know, through, now with social media, they find it through Instagram, or they see even, I don't know, someone that they don't know but they follow, and then they see, oh, their agent's this, like maybe I should reach out. So that's what a lot of people do as well. They try to reach out and see if they don't get approached by someone, because yeah, social media is very, very much easier for everyone to find an agent. So that's good.
That's so true. Like, just touching on this, because like to us, it's second nature. I know, Carla, you have a great following, great social media. I know you even have a social media for your art, you know, sneakers, which is super cool. We were able to check that out. And it just goes to show how important, of course, social media, even just the personal branding side, as a player, as a coach, as a, you know, an agent, it really means something. So yeah, I totally feel you on that.
I feel like you've been mentioning a lot, like, you know, yeah, having difficulties, having an injury, having hard times with agents, having parents talking about you, you know, like you've had all of these throughout your soccer timeline. You've had all of these kind of bumps and twists and turns and kind of adversities that you've had to deal with. And so I guess my first kind of question is, how do you manage it? Like, what do you do? If you need to separate yourself from it, or what do you do to kind of fill up your cup? And Julie kind of mentioned it as well, but you have this art account, and it's a charity kind of that I don't know if you started it or if you've partnered with a charity, but you're a very you're a very giving person. You're on two different charities from what I can see. So you're obviously finding ways outside of soccer to have your influence. So I just kind of want to know, like, what do you do to manage those tough situations, and how do you fill up your cup?
Okay, so I'll say like two things. So I'll talk about like the stuff that I work with in after talking about, how I dealt with my mental health, because I know in university, I think I just wasn't, I know I had very low confidence I think I had a lot more potential and probably could have had way better stats, or could have, I don't know, had more accolades, like personal accolades in university, just because I think I was doing well, but I don't think if I had the confidence, like how I had when I was 12 years old, I think I would have done a lot better. And so I don't think I realized that until like when I went off to play professional, because I had a lot more freedom to like play. I had a lot less restriction, a lot more freedom to just play how I did when I was younger, and it felt great. And I just felt like happy again, and I just felt like I was doing a lot better, and I felt like I was a lot better player. So then I kind of was like, dang, this sucks, because I'm at a level that's a little bit lower, and I wish I was at a higher level so I can continue to get better with this like momentum that I have. So that did take a little bit of a step down for me, where I was like, dang, but I still kept the motivation, I think. And so then after France and trying to find a new club, and I found Italy, I felt very like I was like up here. I was like, okay, you know what? Like I felt very motivated. I'm like, I'm going to take this club, even though if they're bottom of the table, I'm still going to play hard. I'm still going to showcase myself, because then next season I'm going to be somewhere where I want to be. And so then when the visa kept taking like a month, I couldn't play. I had to keep watching my team, and my team kept losing. I was like, oh, I just want to play. And because I still kept practicing. And so I was working harder than everyone at practice. But then at the end of the week, I had to sit and watch my team play because my visa wasn't ready. So it was like a month and a half of just like pure, just working hard and just staying focused on the goal. And then at training, I stepped and I hurt my knee. And again, I don't think it's an excuse, but like our field was so bad. It was so bad. So like I felt like so many range of emotions, because I was like, our field's not even good. Like, is that why I got injured? And then I was like, and then a couple days after, I didn't even have medicine. Like when I got injured, so it was apparently it was my MCL. Actually, I'll get into that. So when I got injured, I went home and I was like crying, bawling, and I didn't even get any medicine to like help me with the pain, because like we didn't have a physio. We didn't have like a doctor or physio at training. Like we don't have one personally. We have to go drive 30 minutes to go see a physio, because we don't have a personal one as a team. So I'm like, that was honestly the worst. That was a very sad night for me. I was in so much pain with my knee, and I was laying in my bed, and I'm like, oh my God. And so then I got an MRI, and they said it was like my MCL, possibly, and it would be a month, and I'd be able to play. And then as weeks go by, well, they actually said the first MRI was blurry, but they still think it was MCL. So I took the second MRI at the end of the month, after a month, and they were like, oh, we don't know if it's from this injury, but you do have a small, like, partial tear of an ACL, but it is also your MCL. But it was and then so from then on, it was like November to actually October, end of October, middle of October to December, I was doing physio. But again, I had to go 30 minutes. I didn't have a car, so someone had to drive me there. And then after a couple, people didn't want to keep driving me because it was so far. And so like even one time I took a bus and it had to take me like an hour and like an hour and a half. I'm the type of person that like, I was like, okay, I'll just do it myself. Like if no one will really feel, if I feel like they don't want to help, then I don't want to push it. But yeah, it was a that time, like that probably like 2 months, or just even being in Italy, it was very hard for me, because I was on like a high of motivation that I was like, oh my gosh, I'm working hard, I'm doing so well. And then like, it all ended. And I was like, I'm back to square one, because it was like, I just had a year where I felt like I should have been at a higher club, and then I came to this club and I felt like, okay, I gotta wait a little bit more to get to another higher club, and then I got injured. So I was like, this is miserable. Like I was at a pretty low mental health state during that time because I just felt really defeated. I felt really drained, like because I felt like I just exhausted myself like through all aspects, physically, emotionally, mentally. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm not getting any younger, because then there's also that pressure, like you're not getting any younger, like being abroad, like playing professionally, like, you know, you should, there's always, I feel like for women's like football players, soccer players, like there's always that idea or thought at the back of the head, like you should be starting your life already. You should be like having like your 9-to-5 job. You should already be like, you know, doing all of that. But then obviously like we love the sport, so we continue to do it because that's our dream. And so I felt like so many emotions were coming and so many, and it was very hard to deal with. But you know, like it was, I think I reached out. I felt very drained. So I reached out to my followers and I was like, guys, I'm drained. Like, help me out here. And so many people sent me like podcasts, books, YouTube videos, the most amazing messages. And they were all just so like enlightening and so motivational and so helpful. And it was just the sweetest thing. Like people I didn't even know, people that I probably haven't talked to in 4 years and stuff like that. They were just all reaching out and supporting me. And I was like, oh my gosh, I feel so loved. So it felt really great, as much as like, you know, it's hard to be vulnerable on social media or to reach out, but I got so many people just to help, and that felt really good. Aside from, you know, the people that were helped, like, you know, at the time, like my boyfriend or my family or my best friend who were trying to help me. So that was very, very, very nice. So yeah, it was tough because that was where it was like a lot low. Like my mental health, I think in general, like, you know, it's tough, and in France it was tough, but I was still like motivating myself. I was still trying to push through it. But in Italy, I just felt very depleted. Like I felt like a balloon just deflated, and I just was like, it was tough to get over that hump. But yeah, that was Italy.
Yeah, and Carla, I think you've touched on so many points that are so realistic to so many young athletes on I think sometimes they paint this image on their head that they're going to play for the national team, play for a professional club, and there's only so many spots, right? There's only so many roster spots, and we look at roster spots even for the Olympics now. Rosters being released and people going at, why didn't you pick this player or anything? And I find sometimes players don't expand or look at clubs that are maybe outside of like the big Man Cities or NWSL clubs, and the reality is there is a job there is work, there is a pay, there is accommodations and all that stuff that comes into being important. So I think your message to young athletes is important, and what you've went through too is so realistic, because knock on wood, I hope every athlete goes through a life without injuries, but the reality is some will go through some pretty nasty injuries. And being in that situation you were in Italy, taking the bus by yourself and not having support, is sometimes the realities of the grind female athletes are going to be in. Not even having physio on staff is like, you're saying it and we're kind of like, oh my God, but you know, I think we know the realities, and I want young players to hear your story and kind of go through that. So obviously you do a lot of stuff away from the field, you know, involved with charities, you do the shoe art and stuff. But, you know, obviously for you, like you said, I think the best point, and I wanted to touch on it again because I think it's so big, is the 9-to-5 job. And a lot of athletes give up their professional career or kind of stop playing for that 9-to-5 job because it's looked at as you're not going to make a lot of money in the sport. But you said something so important is around the passion. So, you know, if we could summarize like your everything you went through into, you know, a couple words from you around what it takes and the grind, you know, what kind of message do you want to say to people that are listening around that grind, and you know, how can we better help our platform and the people that are listening to keep going and not give up just because it's not a typical 9-to-5 job. And even me with being a soccer coach, people always say to me, oh, you get paid for that? Oh, you're not volunteering? Like, how do you make money? Every day I hear that when I tell people I'm a soccer coach. They're like, oh, really? Like, oh, I didn't know there was money in that. So I can only imagine you as an athlete too, right? You probably have gotten it. So, yeah, I just wanted to kind of get your thoughts on that. And I want to see so many players go and play pro. But the reality is there's only so many spots. So what's kind of like your message to the people listening to
I
this?
think when I was going through like where I had thoughts and where I'm like sitting in my room, I'm like, dang, I wish I was somewhere else. Like, I wish I was at this club, or I wish I was, with this opportunity and this. I think my teammate at the time, Asia, we would always talk about it because we had similar like aspirations and we were in the same situation. I think we just always constantly tried to remind ourselves that, your journey is not the same as everyone else's. And I think it gets really consuming as a footballer, as a female footballer too. Like, you compare yourself to other people's journeys, and you compare yourself to, everyone else. Oh, she's playing here, or she went here first and then she went there, and then you're like, oh, well, I'm here and I should be there. And I just think it gets very consuming. So you just constantly have to remind yourself that your journey is your own path. You're gonna get where you want to be. At the end of the day, it might have to take a little bit longer. It might happen overnight. It might happen, you never know, and you just have to constantly remind yourself that, okay, this is your story, this is your journey, it's not anyone else's. So don't compare yourself, and just focus and just keep grinding. As much as like you're at the lowest point, or if you're at the highest point, like, you just have to keep working hard, because that's in your control, and nothing else. Everything else that sucks is not in your control. So you just have to keep reminding yourself that, for sure.
And I know we're on a time crunch, so I definitely, I just sent Julie a message saying the Olympic roster for US is out. So maybe can we cover a little bit with that, Carla?
Yeah, for sure.
Just on that roster.
Okay.
And I just want to get your thoughts, because as you were speaking and going, I was looking at some of the comments, and already there's comments on it.
So drum roll. Okay, so we have goalkeepers, which these are what were expected. Okay, we have Adriana French, and then we also have Alyssa Nair. Okay, expected, we got them done. Okay, defenders, we got 6 defenders. Abby Dahlkamper, expected. Okay, this was a little bit of a surprise. Tierna Davidson. She was kind of on the cusp, And then we had Crystal Dunn, yes. We had Kelly O'Hara, yes. Becky Sauerbrunn, yes, we knew. And then Emily Sonnet, she was also on the cusp. So the two kind of like ones that were not on the cusp, Tierna and Emily Sonnet. Exciting. Okay. Midfielders, 5 midfielders. We had Julie Ertz, which she was obviously, everybody was like, I don't know, is she going to do it because she's coming off an injury, and she hasn't played a game since, Chicago, she got hurt, blah, blah, blah. Okay, Julie Ertz. Lindsay Horan, expected. Rose Lavelle, expected. Chrissy Mewis, she was on the cusp. No, people weren't 100% sure. But then we got the Mewis sisters. So we got Sam Mewis. She was the last one in midfielders. So Chris Mewis, Sam Mewis, killing it. Super excited. Okay, and then forwards, there's 5. So Tobin Heath, being that obviously we didn't know. I didn't know how bad she was. She was practicing, but, she hasn't played a game in forever. She hasn't played a game with the U.S. women's national team in 2021. So that, I just didn't know. Anyways, so then we had Carly Lloyd, expected. Alex Morgan, Kristen Press, obviously. And then we have Megan Rapinoe. So 5 of those. So the people who weren't, I have a Sophia. Let me know if I'm missing anyone. So I'm thinking of Sophia Smith, didn't make it. I'm thinking Midge Purse, which was surprising because I thought Midge Purse was actually going to make it because she's very, what's it called? She can play many positions. So I thought she was going to be a thing.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. No, Macario. Didn't make it. Katarina. Okay, so everybody was saying it was either Chrissy Mewis or Macario. And when I saw Chrissy Mewis there, I was like, oh, so that means Macario didn't make it.
Yeah, she's on the alternates, Macario.
Yeah,
so
I see that.
Jane Campbell, Casey Kruger, Macario, and Lynn Williams are the alternates. So leaving out...
Lynn Williams! Lynn Williams!
Yeah, so they left out And if you read the comments, all of them, crazy, and I want to get Carla's thoughts on it, but they've only talked about right now how old the forwards are. Like, you got the oldest forward at 37 and the youngest at 32. So obviously for us, we know experience, but a lot of these people, the trolls on Twitter, I've just been reading the comments, are all around this old forward lineup. So Carla, if you want to break down that and share your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that always comes down to everyone. A lot of the fans always talk about how, like, I mean, we love to get younger blood in there. We want to see that. I mean, experience does, of course, experience helps. I mean, come on, like, experience with the U.S. national team helps, but I think a lot of fans and a lot of U.S. fans really want to see that young blood come in there, and yeah, that's crazy.
A lot of them, though, I feel like they might be on the cusp of, like, retirement after this.
Yeah,
so I feel like they're leaving
too.
with cash.
That's
You know,
true
like
too.
a Carly Lloyd. She might be, people are saying, you know, she's a gladiator, like her gladiator, Terminator, like her body is just like crazy. She's literally on the cusp of being, what was she, 37 and whatever days? She's on the cusp, or 38? Whatever, I have it somewhere. But like, oh my gosh. Like, but the fact, and then even she's older than Christine St. Clair, which we're like, oh my God, Christine St. Clair, she's like, she's like 37 or something. But Carly Lloyd, oh my gosh. That's so, but like Kristen Press on the top of her game, obviously. Megan Rapinoe, like, so sick. And Megan Rapinoe, like, she's gonna be in the, like, she already has like a deal with like a TV show. She has her book. She has the Let's LFG, Let's Effing Go thing coming out and everything. So would you check that out, Carla?
That
the
looks
movie?
really cool. Like, I saw the
But people
trailer
are worried now with that comment.
It's really cool.
What'd you say?
People are worried with the Megan Rapinoe comment now, and she made a really inappropriate comment. I don't know if it was back in the day, but it's like kind of just coming out now. She made this comment. I can't remember when. I'll pull up the tweet, but basically everybody's saying that she should be canceled, and you know, this cancel culture stuff. But yeah, I can read you the tweet. It's up here on the thread. If you just keep going through this troll Twitter thread, you'll see it. But basically, Megan Rapinoe made a comment, and I know Julie's our tea person, but I think maybe I got you on this one, Julie, to find it first.
Yeah.
But it was just a comment around, and I'm just trying to find it here, but, you know, they're like this cancel culture kind of movement, and finding old tweets and having them resurface and all of this. So, so Megan Rapinoe in 2011... made a comment to someone on Twitter. I think it was just a fan. The fan said something that she didn't play well. And she wrote back, and she wrote, at Tasha Kai00, you look Asian with those eyes closed. So it's resurfaced now on Twitter. So people are upset that she's made the Olympic team, and wants to be kind of the canceled culture moment that we're kind of going through. And they want her to be accountable for this tweet.
Has she said anything yet about it?
Nothing yet, but I think because she signed some deals with like Victoria's Secret, and now with the whole HBO LFG movement, people are saying, hey, this tweet's out there, and there's a screenshot of it, and and anyways, it's trying to be resurfaced now. So people are upset that she's in the lineup, but I don't know.
I think what everybody's feelings are absolutely valid in the sense of that's inappropriate, like, regardless. You know what I mean? I don't want to make excuses for Megan Rapinoe at all, and I think that if this is being surfaced, I absolutely think that she should address it. But at the same time, I just want to say it's totally valid what people are thinking and saying. I don't want to make excuses, so I'm just going to stop there. You know what I mean? I'm not like kind of saying.
Yeah, and hopefully she does take accountability for that. But also people have to realize, like, she's going to be probably picked because of her experience of how she dominated the last tournament and stuff. So I'm sure she will address it. She's pretty open about that stuff, and I'm hoping she will. And I'm sure her PR team or whoever helps her out with that will help her to address that, because a lot of fans want something done, and her to acknowledge that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think she'll acknowledge it for sure. And it is tough, like it's obviously it's inappropriate and shouldn't have been said, and it's tough at the same time too because it was so long ago as well, and like 2011. So
Yeah,
yeah,
10 years.
man, people really like dig up your past. It's crazy. So it is very tough. Because if you've changed or if you were young and you're silly and all that stuff, but it definitely has to be addressed and taken accountability for because it's obviously not okay. So.
Yeah, and Carla, I know we have to wrap up with you, but is there any kind of last thoughts on that roster or any last thoughts you want to address for the podcast?
I guess that I forgot to, after my whole like spiel about Italy, I forgot to talk about another part, like outside of soccer, because I think it's important. I think as after university, I think also graduating, and I didn't find a club right away after university. It was about 6 months. I graduated early, and so I think that time my mental health took a toll as well because I like had an identity crisis. I was like, oh my God, like I'm done university and I want to keep playing, but like I'm not playing at the moment, and then also I need money, so I need to find a job. So I was in this very huge like I'm at a loss and I don't know who I am. I don't know where my life is going, and I don't know what to do. And I think that can very easily happen. I'm still playing now, but I think, it can very easily happen because I've seen it with so many of my friends and people that I know of after sport and after playing, where it's like, you've played this for so many years and it's your passion, it's something that you've identified with, but now it's gone and like you're not playing it anymore, and now you're like, oh my God, who am I? Who am I without this, without my identity? And I think it's important to, I think for the past couple years I've explored things outside of soccer when you can't, if I'm upset about soccer, football, after, like I don't know what else I can identify myself with. And so that's why the past couple of years I've been exploring what I like to do and what else I can do, like with my major and stuff like that. So it's been very enlightening for me to like find out more about myself and not just, I know soccer has been my passion for so long, and when I was younger, like I would be just so obsessed, and I still am, but I think it's important and healthy to not try to just stick to that and to explore what else. So for example, like yeah, you guys are talking about me painting shoes and doing custom orders and stuff like that, and then also somehow using that and giving back with donating shoes to like soccer cleats or shoes all around the world to people that need it. So that helped me because I was like, I like giving back, but I also like painting, so how can I like do the two? And then with my major, I was like, okay, like so I studied, I think similar to you, Julie, like it was advertising and sport communication and stuff. So I was, right now I do part-time. Before I came to Sweden, I was actually working like 9 to 5. Well, yeah. And I had a full-time job with a autism charity. So I loved that. Like outside of sport, I had something that I was very passionate about because I was working with a charity and I was doing, social media management and stuff like that and marketing stuff for them. So I felt happiness somewhere else, and I think that's so important to find happiness elsewhere because it just gets it's not healthy to just focus on, of course it's your life and of course it's your passion, but it's just exploring other things really lightens the load when if you can't play anymore and stuff like that. So, and that transition process, so that's very important.
That transition process is so huge, and every athlete, male, female, any sport goes through that.
Mm-hmm.
I felt that very much coming out of university because I never really thought of myself as playing pro. I don't know if I could have, maybe I couldn't have. But at the same time, man, like it was so tough, and everybody goes through that. Do you have any recommendations for like what you would, like, how you would best transition from,
I
you know,
think,
like playing to, oh, sorry, you're saying find your passion, find
yeah,
other passions
but
elsewhere,
also I just
because you
feel
can
like,
get really consumed, you know?
yeah,
It's a
because
lot.
I feel like not a lot of people talk about it, and it's a huge transition process, and I think it's just also talking about it, because going through that alone and trying to even find where what you want to do, and I think anyone can really help, whoever that you talk to about it, can help with that process, because it's very huge and no one really touches on it. So yeah.
We really appreciate you taking the time. This was so awesome. And like, seriously, you being so real and like vulnerable. It's really refreshing. So like that is so, and it was so awesome just to meet you. I added you on Instagram the other day and I noticed you added me back. So
Yeah, of
I
course.
appreciate that. Maria, do you want to say any last minute thing to wrap us up, or?
Yeah, no, Carla, like, thank you so much. I mean, I know I've seen you, like, even, like, simply, like, post, like, your journey to Sweden. I remember, I don't know if you missed your flight or something
Oh
happened
yeah.
at the airport. I remember watching that and saying, wow, like, she's so amazing to share her life on, like, the positive sides, but also, like, little things like that, how annoying those little things could be. So I know you're working with a lot of youth athletes, and helping with mentoring. You do so much stuff online. So first of all, I want to thank you for being a role model in the community and in youth sport, and I hope players can find you. But if you just kind of want to drop your Instagram handle or anything, then our editing person, Morgan, make sure you get these in there. That way there could be a little whatever it's called that comes up, but how people can kind of find you and reach out, so that way if we touched on anything today in this podcast and they kind of don't want to ask us, maybe they can DM you and shoot you a message or an email, etc.
Yeah, so I guess my Instagram is Carla Portillo 10. And then you're talking about Next Gen, which is another, we didn't really get to touch on it a little bit, but it's a platform for players, Canadian players, to talk to a bunch of professional Canadian athletes, which is amazing. We got a lot of people on the Canadian national team, girls playing abroad, and then on the men's side, we have a ton of players as well, and it's just a one-on-one session monthly, just talking about and helping and mentoring youth players, which is amazing, because yeah, that's just such an amazing opportunity. But yeah, I just want to say thanks so much for having me. You guys I've seen what you guys have done on like your social media and even with this podcast and other stuff that you guys do, whether it's coaching or other business stuff and other podcasts, other videos, whatever. It's just amazing, because when I was growing up, I mean, and I'm sure for you guys as well, we didn't really have that female representation or just any female platforms for soccer and for sport, and now it's just emerging with everyone just trying to give that platform, and I'm just thankful for you guys to do that. And I know it takes a lot of time and effort and work, but I'm sure you guys enjoy it, obviously, and so it makes it easier. But yeah, I'm so grateful that you guys are doing that for younger athletes, for me, for anyone else interested in the women's game, because it really does help. And it's not just mean parents on a forum, it's you guys talking. So that's really good. That's amazing to have on the internet now. So yeah, thank you so much.
No, I'm so excited. Yeah, good luck I mean, we'll hopefully keep connected and hopefully we'll have you back one day, you know, in the future. But yeah, thank you so much again. Hope you have an amazing rest of your day and hope to chat with you soon. Thank you so much,
Good luck
Carla.
in training
Thanks, guys.
today.
Thanks so much.
Bye, Carla.
Bye.
Bye, take care. Bye.
We just here at TF3 want to echo a message that came from Twitter at Dekicho, I think it's Dekicho Method, but he just sent a message out saying, when the U.S. women's national team roster is announced, do not @ players on social media who do not make it. This has been happening for the last 24 hours with the USA basketball roster announcement, and it's cringe. There's a person on the other side of that tweet. So having some critical commentary and having your opinion is welcome, but just be mindful that these are humans that are busting their butts and working as hard as they can, trying to make a 18-person roster, and the amount of pressure and expectation that's weighing on these players, and for the entire world to find out their fate is a bit daunting. So just be respectful of those people. Have your conversations, but there's no need to go at those players, social media or otherwise. Let them have their space. Let them deal with the decision that's made in their own time and way. And when they're ready to have a conversation about it, I'm sure they will come forward and post. We've had players in the past like Alex Greenwood, who we've mentioned, and she came out on social media and opened up those floodgates and opened up the conversation about how she felt about the decision of her not making that final squad. And, you know, until players do that, give them the space they need. So just be respectful of these announcements coming out.
Well said. 100%. Can you imagine being on the other side of that? Like, they're already trying to internally deal with the fact of not making it, that let alone getting hundreds, if not thousands, of tweets and whatnot, seeing that. I would have to disconnect, to be honest, for a few days, probably, and turn off my notifications. So probably delete the apps, because that would be incredibly frustrating. So I'm with you. Thanks for saying that, Alex. That's awesome. Hey guys, welcome back to another segment of The Tea with Julie. Let's jump into it. Sip, sip, baby. All right, guys, we're going to kick it off with Ebony Salmon. So we mentioned that she is definitely a person to look out for on our first episode. She got transferred from Bristol City, which is in the FAWSL, and to the Racing Louisville. Racing Louisville is their first time, it's the inaugural kind of like season for them, which is so exciting, and they're really building up the roster, which I'll touch on another signing in the next portion. So Ebony Salmon, in the first minute of play, literally, it was really funny. I saw this video, well, we'll probably show it right beside here, of them counting down from the second that she got on the field to the second that she scored. It was like 37 seconds or something crazy like that. She had the back to a player, and then she cut in to get away. And honestly, guys, I think she was against Chappie, which I was so sad about. I'll have to actually confirm. But from the side of it, I was like, oh no, that's a Canadian national player. Oh shoot. Because it was against Houston Dash. And that goal she scored, you know, beginning of her debut, everyone went wild. It was so exciting. And they ended up winning 1-0 against Houston Dash on her debut. Like, goosebumps, right? So exciting. Did you ladies see that goal?
Yeah.
Ebony Salmon's goal? Yeah, super stoked. Okay, so another signing for Racing Louisville. Again, Racing Louisville is really trying to ramp it up here because we're on the bottom third of the standings currently. So they have Nadia Nadine, who is transferring from PSG. PSG, of course, is with Heidma and Lawrence. They won Ligue 1 Femine this past year. So she's coming off of a high. She's 33 years old, so still, you know, she still has many years left in her journey, especially because she's such an amazing player. She's from Denmark national team and is actually a doctor, which is super cool. And she's coming back to the NWSL to play. She actually, for those who don't know, she actually previously was with the NWSL on Sky Blue as well as Portland Thorns, and she's actually coming to a previous coach, which is cool, and that's where the connection came from. So we're excited to see another amazing player coming to Louisville and to see Louisville start to become a big contender in the league. So that's really, really awesome. Okay, next, Carly Lloyd and the drama there. Carly Lloyd, she is a massive player. We all know that. But you can really love her or you can really hate her. I have spoken to actually a couple people close to me as well who have said that they're not super fond of her. I'm honestly in the perspective of, I love her attitude, to be completely, I know she's quite big, and quite like in many ways like selfish. And I think you need a lot of that and confidence to do well as a player. I mean, when you think of the big players, I'm comparing to the men's side, they are egotistical. They are, narcissist, borderline narcissist. Like, they are so about themselves, and sometimes you need that. So I'm like, you freaking go, girl. You're 38, going on 39 years old at this point, and you're killing it. So you go, girl. So she's getting a lot of haters, and for the fact that she actually called out during her press conference after the game, I want to say versus Nigeria, where she scored the goal to make her the oldest goal scorer in U.S. soccer history at 38 years and 332 days. So again, she's almost on the verge of turning that 39. She scored in under 1 minute against Jamaica in the first minute of play. So just to touch on that as well. But in the press conference, a reporter goes, "Hi, Carly." And she goes, "Oh, you're the guy who said I wouldn't make the national team," kind of thing. She calls him out, and she's with like no face. Like, I'm even dramatizing it right now. But it was so awkward.
Thank you, Aaron. I'm curious.
The one who thinks I won't make the roster, right?
I haven't said that.
Yep. Believe me, I read it. I see everything. You got a hometown dude that can never support me, but go ahead.
I'm curious as to following on what Mike said about how you've been working on evolving your game as a center forward.
Gives me more motivation, and I'm just going to do everything I can to help the team.
Thanks, Carl. Last one for Carly goes to Corey Repkin. Go ahead, Corey.
Oh, another one.
But yeah, definitely awkward for the reporters. But like, at the end of the day, people were saying, hey, it's the reporter's job. They're putting out their opinion and this and this and that. But like, it kind of comes with the territory. What do you expect for the player who supposedly she reads a lot of comments and a lot of reports on herself, etc. And that kind of fuels her fire, which like, that's amazing. I know some people wouldn't have thick enough skin to look at everything, and a lot of people don't look at the comments because it is pretty toxic sometimes. But hey, if it drives her, good for her, and she can call them out. I mean, they're calling her out for not making a team. Why can't you do it in reverse? So anyways, I find it fun banter, etc. But especially there was banter not only in the conference but as well as Twitter. Of course, people were reposting that specific clip, and she reposted it being like, hey, like, you don't have to like it, da 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 da. And people were giving her a lot of hate. So again, she gets a lot of haters, but that's okay. It's entertaining for us outsiders anyways. And obviously she made the team, so congrats, Carly. We're rooting for you, but not against Canada, okay? So don't do it. Don't do well against Canada. Okay, next, really exciting news. So we have a couple of things. It is Pride Month, but regardless, we're going to be touching on LGBTQ plus topics throughout all year round, okay? So really exciting news. We had Washington Spirit Japanese forward player Kumi Yokoyama come out as transgender. She quoted, "It would be harder to live closeted." So this was, of course, a big journey for her, but they actually want to use the pronouns. They would like to use the pronouns they and them moving forward. And they have become one of the highest profile Japanese athletes to do so, to come out as transgender in a country where acceptance of LGBTQ issues faces numerous hurdles despite recent trends towards understanding. So again, it was quite difficult for them to come out. And they actually came out during a YouTube channel of former Nagashiko Japan teammate Yuki Nagasato, who's a 27-year-old. They said that playing in the U.S. and Germany has actually showed Yokoyama that it could be possible to live openly, which is really amazing. They said that I've dated several women over the years, but I had to stay closeted in Japan. They said that they had undergone top surgery after turning 20 years old, which they're now 27, and would undergo further gender affirming procedures after retiring as a player. So they plan to play the whole playing career, and then potentially they might do more gender affirming procedures after. And they did cite the Canadian women's national team and the OL Reign player, Quinn, which we all know, who also went public with their transition in 2020, so last year. And they cited them as inspiration, which is pretty awesome. So both Kumi and Quinn now use the pronouns they and them, as I mentioned, and that's something we're hoping that analysts and announcers during games and otherwise reporters, etc., make sure to be mindful of. They had the support of their Washington Spirit team, who retweeted their post and saying the words, "We support and are so proud of you, Kumi, and thank you for showing the world it's okay to embrace who you are." So Kumi uses they, them pronouns, and don't forget it. So that's something that Washington Spirit put out there, which is so amazing to have, because at the end of the day, in being inactive and don't putting out anything or any support or whatever, that's just as bad as being against it in many people's opinion, and also in my opinion. I don't want to speak for you ladies, but so I think putting that out there and showing their support is exactly what is right and what they should be doing. So great job, Washington Spirit. We appreciate you guys. And just so you ladies, just so you listeners know, I was really curious, and I'm sure you guys are as well, relating to what is the transgender policy for NWSL. So just to let you know, they have a transgender policy by which players can still play in the NWSL if they identify as they, them, or he, him, and if they were born as female. And that's totally fine. But if they would like to take testosterone, in whatever sense they would like to take that, they just have to stay within the limits of a woman athlete, which the current standard is below 10 nanomoles per liter, in case you were curious about that specific detail. But just so you know, as long as they stay within the measures, the variability of what it is to be a woman athlete according to their research and doctors and all that, then it is okay for them to play in the NWSL. But if they go over that, then technically they're not able to do that. So just a heads up, if you want to check it out, you can easily Google transgender policy for NWSL, okay? So and then to kind of on the heels of that as well, the Las Vegas Raiders defensive lineman Carl Nassib revealed in an Instagram post on Monday, it was a video, that he is gay. And it was something that I checked out the video, and he said it so, not necessarily nonchalantly, but he said it with such confidence. He wasn't he was just hey, I'm gay. I just want everybody to know, people who are obviously close to him know. And it was this actually makes him the NFL's only openly gay player. Potentially there are others, but for him, he was I want to make it known, and to, as he mentioned, he elaborates saying, I'm a pretty private person. So he wasn't looking for this for attention at all. He just said, I just think that representation and visibility are so important. I actually hope that one day videos like this and the whole coming out process are not necessary. But until then, I'm going to do my best and do my part to cultivate a culture that's accepting and that's compassionate. So we appreciate you, Carl. Thank you so much for using your huge platform. And we think even if it helps somebody with accepting himself, making him feel comfortable in any way possible, especially coming from a quite, it is difficult, I can imagine, in his environment, but the fact that he's comfortable enough to come out, we appreciate you. Snaps to you. You go, Carl. Okay. So, and to touch on quickly with Deanne Rose, Guys, I've been trying to keep up with the tweets, with everything that's going on. We have still not heard anything about Deanne Rose. As Maria mentioned, hey, who knows, they might be using the Canadian women's national team roster drop, which will be happening today, has a potential opportunity to drop where she's going. Maybe, maybe not. We'll keep you guys updated as usual. But everybody is saying that she is going to the WSL. I was thinking, oh, maybe League One as well, but we'll see. And then we have Janine. So Janine Becky, we dropped the news that she was with the TSN crew for the Euros. So amazing. She actually went to schooling for journalism, and she feels extremely comfortable in front of the camera, which you can tell with a lot of her interviews, etc. But people thought that, and us as well, correct me if I'm wrong, people thought that she would have more time potentially on the round table. For example, we have a Stephen Caldwell and that whole crew. They're on all the time versus Janine Becky. When I've been able to come on, I might have only seen her like one time, even then, which is definitely a little disappointing. But at the same time, I'm just happy that she's getting number one experience, and you know, people are getting to know her name a little bit more, and then hopefully she'll kind of work at a point where hopefully she'll be brought on to more of these roundtables full time. I mean, that'd be super cool to see. And then, of course, we had the breaking news with the U.S. women's national team, which is super exciting. So, guys, let us know. You're going to Instagram us. We're going to ask in our comments. We want to hear what you guys think about the U.S. women's national team, and then hopefully about the Canadian women's national team as well when it comes out. And then finally, we have Emma Hayes. I, unfortunately, wasn't able to hear the commentary from Emma Hayes, but people on Twitter were going crazy. People saying how much they loved hearing about Emma Hayes. Just for you guys who might not know Emma, she is the head coach for Chelsea FC, who made it onto the finals for UEFA Champions League, as well as the FAWSL. They won the FAW. So she's like a big name, right? She's done this for many, many years. And yeah, people are freaking out. But unfortunately, us Canadians don't have access to it. So we would have had to find, random streams to find. But ladies, I actually want to turn this over to you. Were you guys able to see any of Emma Hayes' clips by chance? If not, no worries. But I know Morgan was able to send a clip. Not sure if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I saw it. It wasn't it was glitchy in and out, so I definitely watched a little bit, heard a couple things, but then the stream kicked me out. I'm sure they saw Canadians on here let's kick her out. I don't know how that IP address stuff works, but I did see a little bit of it. It was great to kind of hear her voice and hear her thoughts, and get some female representation around this big tournament. If I'm speaking honestly, I think Janine Becky is not getting as much airtime as I would like to see her. I think her points have been great, but I find sometimes that they go to her first and then don't include her in the rest. And I don't know if it's maybe they just don't have time in that halftime 15 minutes that they get or however long it is. But I just find that if she doesn't go first to talk, then they'll go to her and it'll be a couple of seconds and then they'll never go back to her. That's just kind of what I found. So it's great that she's up there. I just feel that she needs a little bit more on that, and just speaking around female representation on such a big tournament in the Euros. Also, obviously the Euros are such a big stage and being featured everywhere. And then again, you have the Copa America happening, which has no female representation, not being covered as well. So I would like to see that down the line. I'm glad we've made this journey into having Emma Hayes as a commentator and Janine Becky as an analyst, but I'm hoping on bigger men's platforms in bigger tournaments, not just the Euros, the World Cup, Copa America, qualifiers, etc. We see more females speaking around the men's game, because again, a lot of us watch a lot of the men's game as well as the female, but sometimes the male game is more visible, easy to get, and I know we've talked about this on previous episodes, I know I can check the Euros score right now for the games, or Copa America, where sometimes, like we've said, we've had to like navigate through so many different social media platforms just to find a score of a friendly that a female club is playing. So I would like to see that down the line. Janine Becky is doing a great job. I love what she's saying. I just hope that they give her a little bit more airtime to say her thoughts as a current player playing through COVID, playing with not as many fans, and just kind of get her experience. But great job. And Emma Hayes, always great to watch. I think she's one of the most entertaining coaches out there, and definitely a role model to myself as a coach and so many other female coaches in this sport.
Yeah, I'll jump in there and say I did have the kind of sketchy in and out experience with the stream as well when I was trying to listen to Emma Hayes' commentary, but from what I did get, love the comments she's giving, love the insight she has. It feels like she's sitting on her couch in her living room and just being a human being with her commentary, which almost, it almost makes it seem like she's that much more in tune with the game, because she can be in a casual setting and have such insightful things to say about it, and it felt just kind of comfortable hearing her, rather than like you have some pundits or commentators or people that are like screaming their commentary, and it's kind of like you can't always follow what they're trying to say. But Emma, just, you can have anyone at any understanding level kind of jump in and understand what she's saying about the game, and it makes it really approachable, which I appreciate. To back up Maria on her comments about Janine Becky and airtime, totally got the same vibe. It almost seemed like they were like, okay, you have 2 minutes for your presentation and then the boys will talk.
Okay, you're good.
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and I would have loved if they allowed for some back and forth and made it seem, because, we're not getting the around the table format that we might be used to, or sitting on the couch format that we're used to because of COVID. And so they're doing what they can with Zoom or whatever platform they're using for people to tune in, but you can still have a roundtable conversation on a virtual platform if you make the effort to make it happen. So, I feel like they can do a little bit better with that. I'm totally on board and appreciate the steps that, Janine Becky's taking to get herself on that stage and to implement more female voices in the commentary and make it so much more approachable for females to want to watch the Euros and participate and have conversations. And I love that. But, when you get a little, you always want a little more. That's how we're going to continue to improve and get better, is you always want a little more. So I want a little more. Give Janine Becky some conversation time, not just some presentation time. And another name I want to throw out that's been kind of killing it behind the scenes, and for any of you guys that tune in on One Soccer, you'll know Andy Petrillo. She does a great job of holding her own on the couch, doing commentary, men, women, all those kind of North American, Central America leagues. She's a really great female voice, and she talks with a lot of confidence and gets herself right in the mix. And doesn't stand down when she has something to say. So another great personality to look at for females in that commentary role. So big ups to Andy Petrillo as well. And I think it's just great that we keep getting more voices on out there, and hopefully we can have one of them on here maybe and see what the experience is like.
How fun would that be? That'd be really cool. Okay, so guys, keep on the lookout. We're gonna reach out to Andy and otherwise. I saw Janine actually. Sorry, this is on another. But speaking of Janine, I saw her. She had a podcast with CBC, Anastasia. Alex, you commented on it, or you reacted to my story. I have them on. I've been following her because she had a bunch of Canadian players as well as other Olympians and whatnot. But I thought it was really well done. She asked some really good questions and everything. So, anyways, recommend. Janine is really busy right now, obviously, which is cool. I hope she's supposed to be okay with her injury and stuff. Obviously, she didn't play against. But do you ladies think she'll make the team? I think she's a shoo-in, right, for the team.
I would hope so. I would hope so. I'd be very, very disappointed if she wasn't. But yeah, I hope she does. It's just yeah, I'm excited to see that come out in a bit and then jump back on and talk about it.
Honestly, like when it comes on, when it gets dropped, like we should just get on for like 10 minutes and just be like, okay, let's add this. Hopefully we can do that. And that is it for the episode of The Tea with Julie today. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next episode for The Tea with Julie. Sip, sip, baby.
Thank you everyone for tuning in for another episode with the Female Footy Forum. We had some really great conversations, national team rosters. We had our lovely guest, Carla Portillo. Make sure you guys check her out on Instagram. Check out her Soul Stories Instagram account as well. She's decorating and painting shoes and raising money to donate shoes and cleats to those that need them. She's also partnered with Jake's House Charity, working with individuals with autism, helping find them support, employment opportunities, as well as housing opportunities. So some really great initiatives to check out. So you'll find those on Carla Portillo's page. Really great guest. Really enjoyed chatting with her and all she has to offer. She's also partnered with Next Gen, so that's at NXGN on Instagram. It's a Canadian organization that's pairing with top-level soccer athletes and connecting them with youth as a mentorship type program. So definitely a resource worth checking out. So lots of great stuff that came from our interview today with Carla, and hopefully we'll get her back at some point and see how Sweden's treating her, hopefully a little better than Italy. We're always open to feedback, comments, questions, any guest recommendations that you might have. Again, we need you to share, like, subscribe, comment, post, whatever, so that we can continue to grow this network and have access to as many ears as possible. So thank you so much for tuning in. This is Alex Abrahams, and I hope you enjoy this episode and look forward to sending out another episode again after this. So be tuned. We are going to be dropping an episode every 2 weeks, and we have a little bit of a surprise that we are cooking up. We're thinking about doing possibly a TF3 month where we'll be dropping an episode once a week. And just getting some more up-to-date content for you guys. So be tuned, stay tuned for that. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, guys.